Okay, I've got a 2013 Ford Escape with the 1.6 liter turbo engine, and I'm going to be showing you how to remove the engine and transmission here. I'm actually going to be replacing the transmission. It's still drivable, but you wouldn't make it much out of the yard because as soon as it warms up it just starts slipping. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll show you the transmission we got here. And these transmissions are really expensive. You're looking at $2,800 is what this one costs, but this has been a remanufactured transmission. Now the used ones are pretty close to that if you can find one with low miles, but this comes from Street Smart Transmission. I've gotten one of their transmissions before. They do a really good job. I was really impressed with it. So you can get them from there, and you know, around $2,800 give or take, depending on how the pricing is. But like I said, it's completely remanufactured, you know, good to go. Usually there's like a relearn that has to be done. I'm not sure on this one, but sure it's got one too. Now this is not the four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. This is just a front-wheel drive, two-wheel drive version. So I've done another one where I just removed the transmission on that. Was an all-wheel drive. So I wanted to do this one. It's a little bit different, and I wanted to kind of go about this a different way and see if it's any easier. Okay, very first thing I like to do is chalk these rear tires. All right, we're going to get started breaking the lugs loose on the front wheels. Depending on if you have these capped lugs, you'll either be a 19 or you might be able to use a 3/4. This one's capped, these aren't, looks like. And we'll just break them loose on the other side the same way. Okay, we're just lifting it right here at these spots on both sides. And we just need the wheel off the ground for now. Right now we can go ahead and get this wheel off. I believe we got a messed up wheel stud here. I could tell there was a few of these that felt overly tight when I was breaking them loose. Okay, and we'll just do the same on the other side. We also placed our jack stands on the control arm. They're on each side. We're going to remove this fender flap, fender liner in here. You see these push pins going all around this piece. And then we've got some 7mm over here, push pin, and you know, just various spots here. We're just going to take this out. And it goes without saying, you want to get you something to keep up with all these little screws to where they go. Don't be surprised, a lot of these don't break. So some of them will come out, some of them won't. This is kind of in behind this piece, and we'd have to pop this out if we don't work it out this way. Okay, before I mess with that anymore, I'm going to take all of these out, these 7s down here. They're going in the bumper and this fender shroud, and free all of these up. On top of those, we got this button right here as well. Now, from what I remember about this piece, it snaps in with these little snaps like the brakes. I'm attempting to work this out without doing that, but we'll see. Okay, I'm gonna take this plastic piece and run it back in behind here. This is not wanting to break free, so we're just gonna delicately try to get this loose here. Okay, it is in behind. There's a button on this fender flap right here, and you can see these snaps are going in here. These will always break. You cannot, like the clips and everything will break when you take this loose, but it still has some, and they also get screwed in. So I think what I'm gonna do, I don't know if I ought to go ahead and take the rest of it off or just pry this loose here. Okay, so did need to take this loose because you can see we've got it's clipped here and here, but this piece, as I said, has other snaps and screws there, so when we put it back it'll be fine. If anything, I might use some double-sided adhesive, but I don't see it being a problem because there's just no avoiding these being broken. Now on top of those there's 2 more buttons, and then this piece will come off. Okay, so there we have it. Now I might even have some of these clips. They just are little cheap plastic ones. We can work those out. Biggest thing is just don't damage your fender. You see these clips, they just have to lock in under there. So you definitely want to have you a plastic tool when you're around this part of the body. In worst case, if you can't get them to relent, just carefully cut it off of there. Okay, so we got our fender liners out. Okay, next thing we're going to get on is removing this piece right here. Okay, with all of those out, you'll note we got our hood latch here, but we can just leave this here. We're going to pull up on it right here and pop it up. You probably need a screwdriver. It just pops down in there, and simply disconnect that, and then we just lift this whole piece up and out of the way. Yeah, just put the snaps back so I'm not losing them. We're going to get these 2 7mm here on each side. Okay, one's a 7 and one's an 8. Okay, got those out. We're going to get these 10mm down through here. Okay, we're on the underneath. We got a lot of 7mm running along here. Just taking them all out. We got a few 10mm here. Now you want to keep up with these. It goes without saying, and know exactly where they go. Bag them and label them and everything. Okay, so coming in your fender well on each side, you're going to look up in here. We've got 3 10mm bolts that we need to get out. Now, if you can get in here with a small cordless, it'll help out, because It is time consuming getting these out of here. Okay, now you'll note these plastic clips here. We're going to push in on those a little bit. Now you see how we got that loose here. Okay, so you see we got that part out. Okay, before we start yanking it loose, we need to get our fog lights. We might actually have a couple of lights. But we need to pop these all loose. Okay, I'm thinking that wire stays connected. We just disconnect it here, if I'm remembering right. So we need to get this connector right here pulled back, and I think the other part will stay. Okay, so just disconnected that, and then I found a cowl clip here, down here in this too. Okay, I've got a 10 millimeter here I need to get loose too, I think. Got, should have been one on this side too. Okay, and these will pop out from under the lights. Okay, this should be getting ready to turn loose here. Okay, so in the center here we've got some clips, so we're just going to yank on it. Okay, lifting up on it seemed to be key here to getting it loose finally. Those three plastic prongs you see in the middle there were somehow holding in there to something, and I lifting up on them got them loose because I knew there was nothing else in there. So it's been a while, so I took this off. This piece could have stayed fastened. I'll probably put those back because I'll forget where they go, because you just need to get these two, and this could come with it. And as far as the wires go on the bumper, all you need to disconnect is that harness right there. So I'll probably put these back. And I always say this, but you should never have bolts and screws or anything just sitting and laying around unless you have marked those and know where they go. Otherwise, put them back where they came from. Okay, so there was only 2 of these 10 millimeters that I actually needed to take out of this bottom. All these that I took out did not have to take out either, so I put those back. Okay, we're going to get on the headlights. You should have 3 of these T30s. Over here, looks like there's a 10. We're going to remove this piece here now. We'll start with these 2 10 millimeters since they're the most obvious. Okay, it should be turned right there. Same thing on this side. These up here just clip in. You can pull it out or push it from the other side. It's hard to see with all this stuff in the way here, but there's that clip. Just need to squeeze it. You can use a screwdriver or just give it a good yank and it should come out of there. Try it with this one. Now after you pull this back a little bit, you also have to rotate it again to get it to come completely loose. It's got like 2 locks, I guess, or something. Or it could be the lock just locked itself back. Okay, when it pulled back coming from underneath, there's also a 8mm, I believe, right here, 7 or an 8. I'm going to have to squeeze this together because that is holding right there. But they like to, okay, so that's a 7. I said they like to keep you guessing on stuff. Goes together like a puzzle. Okay, what I'm doing here is coming up here above, and there's another one on top that I can't really show you. Another 7mm. We should have it loose, and it's possible that I'm going about this the wrong way, but we will figure that out. So this is that piece that's going around there, so I don't see any way of getting around it, but it was bolted the back side going around that brace, so we had to take these loose. Don't really know what the purpose other than making it difficult to remove, but now I guess what we're supposed to do is know that these are here. We probably take these flaps off or something, and then we squeeze these and pop it loose. So we'll figure it out anyways. So there we have that out of the way. Now that little arm thing on the back actually controls the vent, so I guess it does have a purpose. We're going to get on this brace here, removing these bolts next. I've got to make sure there's nothing connected to it first. We're going to start with these 10mm for the fender that's going into it. Okay, you'll notice we got the hood propped up here with some blocks for now. Now the next thing we're going to get on, we got the fenders loose. We're going to remove anything here that we need. We got this cable that's running around here. We need to get that loose. And as far as this goes, we're going to pop that piece out. Let's see what else we got. A connector going to this latch, and it will be clipped in there, or at least it should be. We've got another connector right over here. And then this coolant line is going to be clipped in a few places. I'm actually surprised this coolant line's in good shape. I'm thinking this has been replaced because it doesn't seem brittle. And as far as this goes, we need to pop this piece out. Lift that air box up out of that rubber grommet out of there. Okay, the windshield washer tank needs to be lifted up and off of there. Then we got this pump here. Seven millimeter. This has got a connector. We're going to go ahead and get it loose. We'll just kind of let this sit here for now. I think we're going to go ahead and get this horn out of the way so it's not getting broken. Just pop that out there. And I think we've got an 8 millimeter. Okay, we should be free. We got 13. Kind of lifting it up and off. Okay, I did forget one thing. Okay, I forgot this hood latch cable that I was just talking about earlier. All I gotta do is pop that off there. Alright, we're down here on the driver's side, and you're looking at the petcock valve on the radiator. And you notice I got the hose on here because they like to put them where they run down stuff and go everywhere and make a mess. So hopefully we can do this without making a mess. Alright, we'll just let that drain. Okay, well I guess we'll do some other things while we're waiting on that. Get on our windshield washer tank. Squeeze right there. Not sure what all this zip tying business is about. We got a couple of tins. Uh-oh, I'm spilling. I was hoping I could get it down before that happened. Alright, I'm going to have to get a hand on this. Okay, this just pulls up and off there. I'm not sure about these little clips, so I just pulled it out of there. Just don't get too rough with it like I did with mine because I broke it right here. Okay, so these little clips just push back and it pops off here, so it's not a big deal. And I'd recommend labeling these so you don't get mixed up putting it back. But yeah, I just push this with my fingernail here and it just slips right off. Once you push that back, just like that. Okay, on the other side, just unclipping stuff from this front brace. It should be clipped here, but that one's already broke. Okay, this box has some 8mm. I'm just going to take it loose right here for now. Okay, and this plastic tab here was broken, I guess, from the last time someone messed with it. Okay, we'll get this connector. Alright, we're going to get these other 8mm holding this box, just so we don't mess around and break these tabs. The other one's up here. We'll just allow that to hang down. So you want to get this stuff poured up immediately so no animals get into it. Okay, so it decided it wanted to rain, so we're going to switch gears. I got some plastic down, my purple cleaner, and I'm going to just start spraying this underneath this engine. It's really nasty under here. If I can show you without getting drenched here, but you can see all this under here. How it looks. We're going to come underneath, clean this all up, and I'll also clean my condenser and the radiator while I'm at it. But yeah, first thing, I'm going to get the purple cleaner under there and work some of that grease and stuff. Okay, we've got our degreaser on there. Oh, it's got air in it. I really like to clean the radiator and stuff up as well. We're just going to make the best of the rain. And whatever you get that degreaser on, like I say, you got to make sure you get all that off there. Okay, that's good enough for now. I'm sure it's a lot better than it was. Okay, I'm about to get on these 10mm bolts that are running up from this piece of the subframe into here. So for this one, I got to come up here with an extension to get up to that one. So I'm getting this loose. Okay, I got the first one out. Now I'll get on this one right here. Okay, you can see that drop down a little bit. Okay, now over here on the passenger side, the placement's a little bit different. Okay, now we're going to remove these 13s. We got a couple on the top and the bottom on each side. Seven millimeter. Seven millimeter on this side as well. I'll lift this up, move it forward a little bit. We got an 8 millimeter right here. See how that can move now. Same thing on the passenger. So just to show you, this fell after it popped out on the other side, but they come up under these hooks here. You can see it's just sliding underneath that hook right there, and then it bolts from the bottom. Same thing on this side, it just slides up under there, bolts from the bottom. When I got the one side loose, it just all fell. Now I want you to see all of this back in behind here, and I couldn't even blow that out with the pressure washer. It was packed in there so tight. Okay, now this condenser will lift up. We just push in on this clip down here at the bottom, and this will lift up. It's got a clip on both sides. Okay, we just protected the condenser with some cardboard. Okay, we got to get everything unhooked from the radiator, the fan here. We've got a connector for the fan. Just push down on that right there. It may or may not have a lock on it, or did have at one time. Okay, we got a fastener right here, a clip. We need to get that out. These, you should be able to just squeeze these. Hopefully they don't break. And I've got my pan down there because there'll be some residual coolant in here. These have O-rings and can be extremely tough to remove the first time, but you want to be cautious and not damage the fitting here. Okay, finally pushed it loose there, and you can see we still got some residual coolant. We got this coolant pump right here. I believe this is for the trans cooler. Push down on that. We've got a clip right here. These clips really bite in, so I want to disconnect the other end of this line at this overflow tank so it's not getting broken. Now the other part of that goes in behind there and has a clamp, but we just kind of got set here out of the way. Now this trans cooler pump's got a clip right here. We just need to take this top hose loose. Now I've got my heat gun on the 3rd setting. Now this is a plastic spout, so you don't want to get too carried away with your heat gun. You could actually distort this, but we're going to heat this up a little bit. Can't remember who had commented this method, but it actually seems to work. I've tried it a couple times, just heating these hoses up, and they seem to push off there a lot easier. Okay, so heating that up a little bit did get it loose. And it would have worked even better, but it's just hard to get in this spot to get the heat gun all the way around it. You can see we didn't do any damage to it, but said you don't want to get it too hot when you've got a plastic spout. So I don't know who commented this method, but I need to figure it out and go back and thank them because it actually works pretty good. And I had not tried it till now, or till the other day. Okay, we're gonna get this one on this other side. I took this clip on this side completely off because I can't pull it up enough for that other spout there. This side was stuck a little bit worse than the other side, but we got it. Okay, so we just got this hose clamp on this other side of the pump on this side that we had to remove, and we have it. We'll just do it like we did the other side. Okay, now this one actually pulled off without having to heat it up. So it's nice to have that out of the way so we can finally see something in here. Okay, gonna get on the serpentine belt, got a 17. Okay, while we're here, we're going to get this part of this subframe. We just got this bolt here holding this, and then we can get this out of the way on both sides. 13 millimeter. We're going to get this AC compressor next. I want to move this hose so you can actually see something here. If you don't have any of these, you really need to get some. These things will never ever stop dripping, I can promise you. .13mm. .13mm bolts. You got to get this hose out of the way because it's on the stud there. We can't pull it back enough. See how stuck this one is. Not bad, not bad. Got the pan. There's never any end to the coolant. So what we can do with this thing now. We're still a little bit wrapped up here. I've got another connector that I forgot down at the bottom. Plan on using a pick tool on this little connector. You're just supposed to push down, but it did not want to turn loose. Disconnected this from the overflow tank. Took these two wires off. I'm going to pop this little coolant hose off here. Okay, with that disconnected, I can route this down and around under this. Okay, I just clipped that back on there so that'll stop dripping, but more coolant came out. Just lift this tank up and off of these little prongs, the front and the back. So we just got that sitting there for now. If we need to move it over out of the way more, we can. Just got our 8mm. We're going to work on getting our cowl off of here. 15. I promise you, you want to get this hood up as high as you can. This thing will hit you in the head every chance it gets. We got some 8mm. And we got the T25 Torx that go into this. Put you a bag on there, it'll try to leak out of them weep holes. So we got some 10mm, and we got some other fun clips and stuff to remove. You can see that it's loose, but we got this pump over here. Now I'm in the fuse box. I'm going to get this connector right here. It's got a lock, I do believe. This is a 10. Well, hold on. Nut stays on there. 13. Just pull that out of the way. Go ahead and get these grounds. Make sure you're labeling. Got 8. Down here this wire clips in. Go ahead and get these vacuum hoses, just squeeze in. Pops right off of there. Alright, we got this connector zip tied here to the box. Okay, we got another pump connector. Okay, right here we've got a T20, if you can see it here. Alright, that's a little better. Okay, at the back here's a push pin, and then that frees this up. Oh, we got something else. Hold on. Okay, we had a pesky connector on there, right there, but we got it loose. To gain some more visibility, we're going to take these 15mm nuts out, and this is not going to fall because it's over the studs here. And we got a wire clipped to that too. You'll find there's wires clipped to literally everything. Here's where the transmission cooler is. I'm going to disconnect these two wires here and label them. They have to get disconnected from this. Okay, and then you can see this hose, how it's running through here. Now we could disconnect it back at the heater hose and disturb them, but we're going to have to change out this oil cooler anyway, so we might as well go ahead and disconnect it here, get our drain pan handy, and so yeah, we'll go with that. Oh yeah, now I'm back on track. So this one down here that runs up to the heater hose, we're going to disconnect it right here. Okay, we're going to switch gears. Before we get to dripping this coolant here everywhere, we're going to get down here and get the transmission fluid drained out. We're at 11 millimeter. It's nice and black, just like motor oil. 7 millimeter. We're going to get this intercooler tube out of the way. 10 millimeter. Looks like I've got about 4 quarts out of there. The guy that shared the tip with the heat gun, I can't thank him enough. I mean, that dude was a genius. I've never even thought about using a heat gun on these, but it works really well. I'm just pulling this hose back up here out of the way for now. Just trying to keep it together. Okay, and down here you have to pull this one back, and we got to work this off of this coolant diverter right here. And I've got the pan down there ready. I just expect more drips. Okay, and right back here we've got another one. I've got the clip pulled up. This runs down to the oil cooler. Alright, so definitely got some coolant coming out of that one. So to give you a better view, this hose is running here and comes down to this one going to the oil cooler. Alright, we're going to get this shifter cable. Now I could take this loose and pop it up, but I'm going to have to swap this whole bracket over, so I might as well just take these two 10 millimeters out. We're just going to pop it up back here. So I'll just take the trim tool and pop it up like that. See, we got that loose. We'll just kind of stick that somewhere where it's going to be out of the way. Okay, I'm going to get this fuel sensor disconnected. Just pushing down on that clip right there. I'm going to take this intake piece off here, just squeeze up and get that loose. It's going to be easier to show you with this 7 millimeter. We're just getting too many things in the way here. Can't see. Got this fuel purge, return, whatever. Got a double lock on here. You got to pull this one back and then push on the back one, and it is stuck. Okay, I just had to push down a little bit. So the back one, just push in, and this lock, put that back. Okay, now the fuel I can disconnect either here or here. I'm just going to go at it over here because it's easier, but it's just any ordinary fuel gauge, all I'm using here. You might want to put you a rag on it. Probably going to have some pressure. Nope, no pressure. Maybe I can find my tool later. We're going to get this hose out of the way. Squeeze this back one. We'll get that out of the way. Okay, now we can get the O2 sensors. This one here is pretty easy to squeeze down. This one you got to pop up off of this tab and flip it over. Okay, I feel like we're making some progress here finally. Just working on getting everything disconnected here, and I think what we're going to do now is get out here and figure out how we're going to disconnect the exhaust, the turbo, or something down there to get the exhaust disconnected, and we should be able to get hooked up to this thing. Okay, we're getting ready to get these CV axles out of here. Using 1.25" or 32 millimeter. See, I've got a couple of lugs on here. Crowbar, 3-foot crowbar. And we'll go ahead and see if we can get this loose. Okay, we got to get this unseized now. This is the axle nut. It's got like this washer. That thing will fall off there if I try to hit it. This one has this shoulder, same thread. We're just going to thread it on there a little ways. Take my 1.25" here. And I got my 8-pound sledge. Looks like we got it moving. Okay, so we got it knocked down pretty good. As you can see, the nut is flush. See them way worse than this. This is what happens when you don't get grease put in them. Okay, so it's moving pretty good. Eight millimeter. Got an 18 millimeter brake, the bracket to the knuckle bolts. Got a 15 millimeter head bolt. I'm gonna hold it on this side. Okay, we got an 18 millimeter nut on this side. Okay, see our ball joint there, we got to knock it down. I'm using this cheater pipe. I want to be setting it right here. And hitting on it. You see we got it on the move there. Okay, this side's a little bit different. Okay, so you come underneath here where your wool pan is, and you'll look straight up here. We've got a couple of nuts there that are holding this little collar. So we're going to take that loose, and then this will simply just slide right out of here. Okay, and these are 13 millimeters, and they're very tight. I am going to get this turbo hose out of the way here in a minute. It's just kind of right in my way. Plus, if I leave it on here, it's all but certain to get damaged. But that's actually good enough to start sliding this out here. Notice this end doesn't have the clip. Okay, this turbo got 13s here holding this bracket. Okay, I'm getting this 7 millimeter band here. It's on the upper part of it. Let's try to keep it in one piece. All right, let's see if we can wiggle this loose here. All right, got that out of the way. Okay, so what I'm thinking is disconnecting these 10 millimeters here from this to separate the exhaust, otherwise it goes way back there. So that's what I plan to do. I'm all but certain there's one back there that's going to be hard to get to, but I'm going to get this one and this one first. Okay, so this one is coming out fine. The one up there is not liking it at all, and it's trying to twist off and break. So I'm going to stop right there, and we're going to go up top and see if we can figure out how to get to that other bolt and figure out what I'm going to do about that one, because I really need these bolts to be out of the way. I know it's meant to slip off, but I'm going to be bringing this engine out, and I really need this thing, that bolt, to be out of the way, and I don't want to break it. Alright, let me show you where this one's at. You know what? It's going to be hard to show you. Let's go ahead and just get this oil cooler out of here. Now, when I take this loose, I'm going to have these dripping lines everywhere. So we're going to have to go ahead and get it out of the way. Get these tins. This side over here, I'm using a long extension and a swivel. There's that one. Had a lot of Loctite on it, that's why it was stubborn. Alright, get these 8mm. Wow, it's really black. Okay, now we can easily get in here to it, and I can give you a view of this. Okay, now this one is coming out without any problem. I don't know what happened to that one. I can get to it from up here as well, though. Okay, so here's the problem one, and I've tried to like work it back and forth, even like a tap, and it's not liking it. It's wanting to snap. Okay, finally got that out of there without breaking it, and you can see what's left of it. Like all the threads are gone down here. Okay, so getting ready to get this mount here loose, and also we've got a couple of 15s just going in here with my slim ratchet here, and getting these two. Now the one back here is coming off like it's supposed to. However, this other one is pulling completely out, stud and all. And you'll notice that we don't have it entirely loose, but this here is already loose from there, so that's what we want. Okay, and that one just pulled out, stud and all, but we've got this off of that. And I guess you could pull the stud out too. This is loose, so it's not going to be hanging up. I'm just going to go ahead and get on this bolt. These are 15s, and those up there are 15s as well. Okay, so I'm just using this little eyelet right here, and what we're going to do is we're going to just take these 18s out because we're going to have to clear this, so we don't want this mount on there. And it's just running. I've just got it rigged up here. It's doubtful that I'm going to have it centered the first go, but it'll just be what it'll be. Got a strap underneath this mount, and we're just going to take this 18 right here out. Okay, I think I'm more to this side because this side's actually lifting up a little bit, you can see. But I'm going to try it out and see what happens here. Start with these 3/18s, maybe. These are 15s. Okay, we just got this 18. This will be free. Now we need to come down slightly so we can get underneath this. Had my oil cooler, transmission cooler line that was hung up and caught back there slightly. Okay, this exhaust is wanting to hang up. It'd probably be easier to take that section back there and get this out of the way, because as I was trying to lower the engine, it was wanting to get caught under this heat shield, and I had to twist the engine and pop it out from under there. So that needs to be out of the way because it's just making problems. So I've got it lowered down here a little bit. We'll try to bring it out and then rotate it maybe, or get it below this over here where I got space on this side. So let's just bring it this way and then try to bring it back. Lower it some more. Now I had all these fuel lines and vacuum hoses disconnected, but it does not stop them from wanting to get hung up when you're trying to bring this thing out. I'm impressed with how centered up I got this strap first go around. I'm just going to set it down here on a pallet and hopefully be able to have room to just get this transmission off and get the other one on. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to address is these threads on this turbo here. I determined it to be an M8 1.25, and all the bolts were messed up and the threads in here are messed up. So I'm going to just find some new bolts and run a tap back through these here. Alright, we got those tapped through. This was the toughest one. I had to go really slow on that one. The other ones pretty much just went through there really easy. Now back in here I couldn't use my tap handle, I had to use a little crescent, which I'm used to using. But this was the really bad one. You can see we fixed those up. Had to go really slow. I was really worried about this one. M8 1.25, so as you can see that's working well. So just wanted to take the time and deal with that now. Okay, I've been moving a few things out of the way. There's a lot of stuff on this engine, even with it out of the car. You got this big PCV intake contraption and wires and stuff going everywhere. So I've just kind of been moving some stuff out of the way here. These are 13s. Might as well get this out of the way. We've got to transfer it. We got our transcooler lines, 8 millimeters. We'll have to clean these lines out as well. You wouldn't know we cleaned this by looking at it. We got a 15 for our shifter lever here. So on these remans, you got to transfer everything, and I mean everything. There's nothing on there. All your sensors, everything. Now, of course, you're going to want to get yourself an oil cooler. I'll show you the one I got. They require it as part of the warranty, but even if they didn't, you'd want to get one. There's no way I'd want to put an old trans cooler back on a transmission. Well, we put some caps in there so we ain't getting any stuff down in there. They actually get this back as a core and redid it. I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate a bunch of or more debris in there. Okay, so we're getting on this starter. Now we got some 13 millimeter bolts right here where you see this wire, and of course we'll want to label that so we don't forget that it goes there. So we're going to just number this, and we'll number the wire so we don't forget. We're going to move on to the next bolt here. We got like 3 bolts going into this thing. Just number each of your bolts because a lot of times they'll be different lengths. Okay, so this is the way like all those Fords and Mazdas and stuff seem to be designed, but you got a little piece like this goes in there. Just take that out if it's not completely deteriorated. And we're going to get over here. I've just kind of like pulled this starter down. I really don't. There's like, if you want to take it off, there's a 10 millimeter and a 13. You can take it off, but I've just took the alternator wire loose and just kind of dropped everything down. There's really no need to take it all off because I'm just going to be putting it right back. Alright, we're going to just get on the crank with an 18. Alright, let's see if we can find these. There's one. I can tell you this, that they really like to get these tight. Now you got to hold it, of course, hold the crank out here while you're breaking this loose. That's a locking nut. Alright, so we just move on to the next. Alright, so we got the fourth and final 15mm nut. You can tell it's the last one if you can do that right there. Alright, we're going to get these lower 13s here. So I've got one that's a little bit farther down, but I should have started numbering there, but that's fine. You just want to number them just so you know exactly where they came from. Sometimes they are different lengths. Got one down here on the very bottom. Where are we on the other side? Start getting these lower ones. Okay, before I go to moving the transmission, I made sure I got a block under the oil cooler in case the engine decides to rock. Now, we should be ready to try to move this thing. We'll see what it's going to do. It's pretty loose. I'm pretty sure it's hung up on some guide pins over on this side for whatever reason. It's kind of, the other side's really loose, but this side's hung up. Yep, I was correct. If you look down here, you can see the corrosion on that pin, but all I did was rocked it a little bit and it came loose. It's not all that difficult to move this back. It is, you know, a little heavy, but it's not that bad. I'm just going to slide this back on a pallet and swap whatever parts I need and get the other one rolled over here, and hopefully it should go into place, no problem. This looks a lot better. Now I don't have enough movers dollies or I would have not been sliding that thing around. Now you can get these movers dollies for like $11 sometimes at Harbor Freight. They're really handy. I think I've got like 3 of them. And I've really loaded them down. Had some of the heaviest engine and transmission on them, and they seem to hold up pretty good considering what they're made for. It's a 5mm hex for this fill plug. It wasn't overly tight. I just wanted to make sure. You see it's got a little like a O-ring or seal on it there. This is where we're going to check to see if we got the fill right, so I wanted to make sure it wasn't ridiculous tight. Take the time to clean up your face really well and make sure there's no dings or burrs, and do the same thing for the transmission. Even if it's a reman, make sure that there's no burrs or dings on it. We want to also grease our pins and the pinholes, or the alignment dowels, and grease the spot where your torque converter goes as well. And you'll know it greased it here and those alignment holes as well. Alright, so we just got it rolled up here. We're going to see if we can get it in place here. Usually I can just do this by hand, pretty easy, get a bolt started. Now we will be using Loctite on these as well. Right, I've got it real close here. I'm going to try to get a bolt started here at this alignment peg. So sometimes you can take and, you know, use some blocks if you're not lining up real well, but you don't want to ever start any of these with a ratchet, only by hand. You can see I'm off on this side, but if I take and rotate this engine a little bit, said it's not real difficult to pull this into alignment. One thing I forgot to mention, because this type of torque converter has the studs, you have to have your flex plate lined up so these will go into those holes. If not, you're not going to get anywhere. So you can see we've got it pushed in here. I'm just running them down by hand. Okay, and you can see that I'm not exactly in alignment here. I've got a gap. So instead, you know, I'm not just going to go to tightening on this. I'm going to make sure that I move this dolly back and get this thing down here flat before I run it on down. So I want to make sure those alignment pins are tightened first. All right, so we just pulled this mover's dolly back and we got that gap closed up. All right, so it's looking good over here. We can just probably move the dolly out of the way and go ahead and torque these two down to 35. All right, so I'm just going to go around and put all the ones back in that I had numbered. You see how I numbered them and took them out, and we're just going to get them back in. Okay, we're just going around torquing these to 35 foot-pounds. And there will be some that you may not be able to get your torque wrench into, and for those, just snug them down. Okay, before we can get our last few bolts in for a starter, we got to get these torque converter nuts back in here. And you might want to use a magnet. I don't have to tell you to be cautious. You don't want to drop these. You'd be having a really bad day. And I'm just going to snug these down one at a time. I don't want it completely tight. I like to tighten them all at once. Alright, just going to get the other three in. Alright, I got my torque wrench set to 35 foot-pounds. Just going to go around torquing each of these. And I usually just go around and check them all twice just to make sure that they're all good. So let's get this little piece back in if I'm doing it right. Alright. Okay, so it's supposed to go like that. I was putting it in the wrong way. We're going to get our starter back up here. Now the lower starter has this ground or wire that comes up through here. At least I think it goes this way. I'm going to go 35 on these too. Okay, I've swapped all my little bolts over, put them on here, and we put this little wire brace on here. I think we'll go ahead and get our motor mount on here next. Before we do that, let's just go ahead and get our shifter. That's pretty snug. Yeah, I'm just going ahead and put my strap back on here. Hopefully it works out as well as it did the last time. 35 foot-pounds on these. See, a lot of this stuff is just pretty straightforward, and putting these wires and stuff back where they go. Just don't want to get things out of order, because then you have to move them back around again. Now, I didn't show this, but it has like a little lock, so when you first lift up, you got to push down right there with your finger to pop that up, and then just get it lined up on there right. Okay, now these transmission lines have been cleaned out with soap, degreaser, and rinsed, and I load them out and everything. I want to make sure that these are absolutely clean. And so the reman came with some new seals, so we're just going to take these old ones off and replace them. So these ones are more of a like a Teflon or something, I don't know. It's really tough. It's kind of loose on there, but let me try the other one. Yep, it's the same. Well, I'll have to make sure I keep an eye on it. So I've got some new rubber ones here. I'm gonna hold on to the old ones just in case these things don't work out. So that seal set down in there nice and tight, the new one, so I'm thinking it's going to work pretty good. Okay, what I realized was that these old seals, I only got a couple of replacement seals. These old seals had actually pulled off down into the old transmission. So these were supposed to have the seal just like that on it too, but just realized that something wasn't right. So all of these lines should have both of those seals on there. I hope that some of these will do okay. If not, I'll have to get some more, get a couple more of those. So anyways, we got those lines routed back where they were, purposely leaving the transmission cooler off for now because of getting the bolts into that exhaust for the turbo. It's kind of difficult with that in the way. So I went to the dealer to get the transmission cooler, and it was like $90. Not too bad considering I would have had to order it and wait for a week. And it's the OEM, and it matches this part number right here that you see. Of course yours may be different, but that's the exact match for the one that came off of mine. So we'll wait till we get the exhaust before we put that in though. That's pretty easy to hook up. Yeah, I got the little fill cap I haven't hooked up on here yet. Just gotta squeeze that with some pliers. Okay, I think that's everything that we need to swap over. Alright, I just wanted to give you a view of this before we started putting this engine assembly back in here. I would like to go ahead and clean this rack off, but I don't have time to mess with it right now. And it looks like the boot on that tie rod down there needs to be fixed. They have to do that. And I'll show you this exhaust. This has a crush ring that goes around it. I'm not going to mess with replacing this right now. So we've got everything together here. The only thing we need to get on here is this bracket for a mount. Here we're going to get this in place. We're going to torque these 15 millimeters to 40 foot-pounds. Now I didn't move that exhaust back there, but I probably should have took the time to take that out because that's the only thing that's kind of a nuisance, the flex exhaust. You can see it's tight over here. I'm just watching these pulleys, and over here you see how this is. And I just wanted to get this up high enough so I could get this under here. This is what I had trouble with getting it out, got hung up. So now I'm able just to go back with it a little bit here. Okay, so all I did was just dropped it down a little bit and then went back. This side looks like it's going to be the easiest. We're just going to start right here and get this bolt into alignment with it loose. Bring it up a little more here. So we can move that where we need it. Now you absolutely want to get this started by hand or it will try to cross thread on you. Do not take off with a ratchet or a power tool, because right now we don't have it at the right angle, but I've got about 3 or 4 threads. Okay, on this side we're going to come up quite a bit higher, so we need to slip the mount on the studs there. Still need to come up a little higher. So getting all these started by hand as far as we can. Okay, you can see we need to slide this back. We're out of position. Go ahead and get these 15s into place here, just loosely. All right, now we'll go get on the transmission side here. I'm gonna let this side back down a little bit, because it's a little bit high on this side, and that's causing the alignment issue there. And I found just picking up on the back here gently on this mount helps us thread in. I was more afraid of it getting started cross-threaded than anything, so I want to make sure that it's going freely. I'm going to torque this one down to 60 foot-pounds. I'm going to go 45 on these. Go 40 foot-pounds on these 15s. Okay, let's go ahead and get the lift out of the way. Okay, this mount was already in here. I'm going to go 45 on this one. Go 45 here as well. Now you recall we got the studs that go into here, but what I'm going to do before I mess with those is get up here and hook this top part up. And I just hunted down some more M8 1.25 10mm bolts. Any bolt M8 1.25 is going to get the job done. Said I'm only hand tightening these initially. Don't want to wind up back to square one with a bunch of cross-threaded bolts and threads. All right, now I'm just getting the lower one. Now, I'm not going to be torquing these. I'm just going to be hand snugging them down. But if you wanted to torque yours, I wouldn't go more than about 15 foot-pounds. And I'll tell you this also, you want to leave all of these loose till you get them all in. It's probably how people strip and mess these up. Because if they're not in alignment, then they're not going to fasten right and they're going to get cross-threaded. So now I'm just going to hand snug these. I'm just going to use this little 1/4 inch ratchet to be plenty snug enough. Okay, with that in place, we're going to go ahead and get our studs back in this bracket right here, 15mm studs. Okay, if these are not lining up, which mine aren't, You gotta loosen these 13 millimeters on this brace. Alright, we got those loosened off, so let's see if we have any better luck. Now, it is quite possible these threads were not fixed, but I don't think they're that bad. Said it's kind of hard to think of everything. This, you know, should have been checked while it was out, but usually, I mean, it seems to be going pretty good now. But they go through on these remans and check them all and mark them, and so they're supposed to be all rechased. Okay, I've got those snugged up. We're just going to snug our 13s back down. It may have been just as easy to take this entire little brace off, but it really didn't get in the way. A good idea to get you some new seals. Got our 10 millimeter. I'm going to go 110 inch-pounds on these. Got 8 millimeter. I'm only going 35 inch-pounds on these. Okay, see how this is turning? It's no good. That means the aftermarket may be a little bit smaller, so we're going to get a screw style clamp. Okay, now it's tight. I'm not coming back in here over a leaking, don't want to have to come back in here over a leaking hose. Okay, we're going to get these CV axles in now. Okay, and I like to either put transmission fluid or some silicone paste on these seals here. I'm going to make sure that this is clean. All right, we're in there good. So I'm going to torque this to 55. I'm holding it with a 15 millimeter, so 18 millimeter. There are 32. We'll give it the final torque later. $18 millimeter. All right, we're going to go 130 foot-pounds. $8 millimeter. Okay, and on this one we've got to slip our long CV back through the little clamp that retains the bearing here. I'm just going to get it set in here. We'll go underneath. Go ahead and tighten up our 13 millimeters here while we're at it. You want to try to tighten these evenly. If you want to torque it, I'm just going to snug them up, but I wouldn't go probably more than about 20 foot-pounds. Okay, now as far as out here goes, we're going to put it together just like we did the other side. Okay, so we're going to start getting some transmission fluid in here with the CV axles in. And one thing I learned from last time, I put 9 quarts in. That's way too much. There's a lot of fluid left from the dyno testing, so we're only going to put 6 quarts in this time, and it should come out about right, but we'll find out. Okay, so this is what we're using. And of course you'll want to make sure your plug's in and everything before you go to dumping this in here. Okay, so we'll just get 5 more of these in there. Alright, so we've got 6 quarts in there. Okay, now we just need to start getting things back together here. And so we've got a lot of hoses, a lot of lines to reconnect. We'll just start back here with this one. Okay, now this goes on to that, but this little lock has to come back. Okay, I had to pop that little lock back on off of there. It just doesn't want to cooperate. Alright, so we got our fuel line, and this thing has been dripping since day one. It's not quit. Got our O2 sensors. This is our fuel pressure sensor down here. Okay, now this is them two coolant lines under here. If you can see, I'm just reconnecting this. Maybe if I can get my hands in here. Okay, I had to go in under here, but got those reconnected. We'll snug these 10 millimeters down. It has a little lock here going back this way too. Alright, we're going to start putting some of these grounds back over here. Got numbered. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get some stuff routed the wrong way. I didn't take good mental notes. There's a lot of wires and stuff on here. Okay, this is going to go down here to this sensor on the transmission. I obviously labeled some stuff wrong. Right, this goes to this pump up here. I may have to take some of this back loose again, but I'm trying to get things halfway routed back where they go so I can get an idea of where everything kind of needs to be. Okay, I'm getting this back over here. It looks like it's going to be connecting to these wires over here. I mean, it's really not that complicated. What I had done is used the same number for a couple of connectors and got myself confused there for a minute, but I'm just getting things back where they go. Everything's been labeled. Okay, and so here, so where'd you go? We've got this and this that connect here, so I know where those go. Everything here is connected. This was zip tied to something, I remember. And I'm just making sure that we're not missing anything in here, because nothing worse than having to go back in because you missed a wire. Okay, now this actually clips into the side right here. 35 on these. Or I'll see if we can get this battery tray back in here. All right, it's 10 millimeters. Okay, this back part snaps in, and we've got a torque somewhere for that front. I'm not going to worry about that torques right now in case I have to take any of this back apart again. We'll leave the negative off. Okay, we'll get this back in place. I'll get this in place. All right, we'll get this hose back around here. Seven millimeter. Got our 8mm bands to snug up here. I'm not going to clip that just yet. We got this hose, it'll go right down onto this T. Alright, we're going to get this AC compressor back on here, and then we'll try to get this belt back on. So we got to slip it on the stud right here. I might have to take this hose back out here. I'm just going to unclip this. Alright, so I just unclipped that hose. I think it's finally quit dripping coolant, believe it or not. So this up here has a locating peg. Doesn't hurt to put a little grease on those. These are all 13s. Okay, we're going to go 15 foot-pounds on these. Okay, we got two connectors. Got one down at the bottom and one up the top. Okay, so we got our belt back on here. So the AC compressor's on. We got this hose here. I went ahead and put that, it goes above the AC compressor. We got everything routed here where it's supposed to be, and I'm just getting ready to put this piece of the turbo intercooler tube in here. Hopefully don't have to crawl back under here too many more times. Alright, so I'm going to push it up in here, and you see we got our 7mm on the other side there where you can't see it. Now before we snug that 7mm up, we're going to go ahead and slip it on these studs here. Get our 13mm nuts back in here on this brace. Okay, so we can't really see here. Give me a second. Alright, that's better. So I took it loose like this just to minimize the number of bands I was taking loose. You know, once you disturb these things, they may try to come loose. Alright, so I'm just going to snug this up. Alright, we're going to get this piece that goes up here in the front to our throttle housing. Alright, so this just goes right here onto this stud on our transmission. Just snug that 10mm up. We got our 7mm band. Okay, we're just taping these ends up for now. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do is just reattach this computer here. I've got the 8mm going in there. Okay, the next piece we're going to get on is this piece on the subframe before we set the radiator in place. We're not going to get these completely tight until we get everything on the front in place. Now, if your alignment pegs aren't broken like mine, they will go into those on each side. Really takes a good push to pop that on there. We got our intercooler. We're going to slip these up under this tab. And then this right here is where this is coming up through and bolting it to the bottom. So up through that and into this right here. Okay, I gotta slip it on here before I can put the hoses on. Okay, so you gotta pull this out here also to be able to get it to go in place. We got a 7mm. Oh, my band fell off. It goes to our coolant fan. Okay, I know I got this wire here routed wrong because I got a number up here purposely for that, so I'm going to have to move that. I got 35 foot-pounds on these. Okay, I backed it off to 30. That top one's feeling like it couldn't handle that much. $25 to $30 is probably plenty. Okay, you see how low we are here. I'm going to carefully pull this up here with the jack so I'm not having to hold it. Get the back one here first. It's the easiest. Okay, we're going to torque these to 15 foot-pounds. We're going to go 30 foot-pounds. If we have any adjustment issues, we will back this thing off and adjust it with that. Alright, I changed my mind. I'm only going 25. Okay, we got this piece. Remember, we had the 8mm going in the back here. That's the brace. It's got to go around. Okay, 7mm that is. Now I'm just going to leave the top one clipped, just go around it. Alright, we got these things to twist in here, line them up. Twist it again, and then it'll go in that way and turn it and lock it. Do that on both sides. Okay, so if that wasn't enough to hold it, we got a couple more 10mm here. Okay, I forgot to tighten those 7mm on the back, so I'm going to have to take these all back loose. Now this piece here I purposely left out because it's just something else to hold leaves and stuff. I just don't see it being necessary. Okay, we got those back in. Okay, this windshield washer bottle actually has to slip into that part first. How it slides into that. Okay, we got these 13s back here. We didn't torque yet. We're going to get these at 35. Now there should be a couple of 10 millimeters or something down in here, but these were broken on mine. Okay, we're going to leave these plastic fender liners out for now. We're going to go ahead, I'm thinking put the wheel on. I don't want to have to take it off to get to the fuel plug, but I think I want to try to at least drive it to get it warmed up. Note we left the cap out here so we can get to our axle nut. Okay, I'm working on getting some coolant in here. We can't put the cowl on until we get the coolant filled and checked to the proper level, because this overflow tank location is right underneath that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get this negative reconnected. Only got 1.5 gallons in here, and my adapter doesn't fit this right, so I'm just going to put the cap back on and work the air out. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get the vehicle lowered and get the jack stands out from under here and torque our lug nuts. Okay, we're going to go ahead and torque these to 100 foot-pounds. 3 of these lugs on the front had to be replaced, but luckily the studs were fine. Okay, so 32 millimeter axle nut calls for 59 foot-pounds plus an additional 90 degrees, so we're going to put a mark on it and go 90 degrees. Okay, another thing you can do is put you a mark. So I got a white dot right here because you need to get it there. So we're going from here to here, basically. Get it set up a little bit better than this. Okay, didn't get it in one pass. Wow, that's really tight. Okay, I had to get my cheater pipe. You can see a mark here, and we got it around there. I'm curious what the torque is. It's probably more around 180 to 200. Okay, so we're ready to get it cranked up here and start running through some gears, and it'll probably take a minute to crank it up because it's going to have to get the air out of the fuel. And let's hope we didn't forget anything. Okay, I was trying to turn stuff off there. Oh wow, it cranked up quicker than I thought it would. Okay, I got a transmission fault right away, so I may have to clear this out before I can even do anything. Okay, I'm gonna have to do a relearn on this, but I'm gonna see if I can move it around and see if it's gonna do anything at all. Okay, well, I've got it in reverse and it's moving fine. Okay, it was moving around here in the yard just fine. Now here's a whole list of stuff that we're supposed to do, and checklist and stuff. and I'm looking for the, let's say, with the engine, and idle and park, warm it to 175 to 190. And okay, that's one with the dipstick. Let's go over here. 175, 190, and then you use the fill plug. We checked that, so we need to get it up to temperature. I'm going to check that with the scan tool over here. So we'll get it level. We'll just put a jack on it and take the wheel off. If this one didn't have a bypass valve, you don't have to worry about that. And here is the checklist for how to do the test drive. And it says to repeat these steps, so we'll do that. And worst case scenario, if my Autel over here won't do this relearn properly, I can take it to the shop or the dealership and have them do that. Okay, I deleted the codes and drove it around to get it up to temperature a little bit. I actually sprung a leak down here on one of my hoses on the oil cooler, is the one that actually had the screw clamp on, so I had to tighten that some more. Now what I did is take the wheel back off, and I've just got the distance from here down to the concrete the same at 10.5 on both sides. Just getting ready to remove that plug under there, and we're going to check and see what the feel is like. Okay, so I got this 5mm hex, and this is not tight. I purposely left it that way. So when I pull this plug, if I don't have any transmission fluid trickling out, well, I know I need more. Okay, so there it fell. And it just looks like it's got a slow trickle. So that's about perfect right there. It is coming out, but it's just barely trickling. So it looks good. We can just go ahead and put this back in. And so this has got a seal on it. Okay, so I'm just giving that a little snug. And I had it up to just above 175, so I had to drive around for a minute. Okay, so here I had it at 86 Celsius. So I had it at 186 or so it's within the range to check it. Okay, we're back out here today. We're going to take this for a test drive. I have not been able to get that warning that's popping up for transmission fault. Tried everything with my Autel, can't get it off there, so I will update in the comments. I'm probably going to have to take it to the dealership. I don't know. Maybe my Autel's not communicating with the TCM. Not sure what's going on. Everything else has went fine. It's driving and shifting perfectly. The only issue I ran into was the leak on the oil cooler. You've seen where I showed you it was leaking from that one hose down there. Now I also come out here this morning to put some coolant in it, and lo and behold, this overflow cap decided to break off, so that was fun to dig out of there. Had to get another one of those, but got it filled up properly, so we're just going to take it for a drive. So this is the warning that I'm getting up here every single time I crank it. I've deleted all the memory and everything that I could, but for some reason I have not got rid of that as of yet. So it's running real good. We got the transmission filled to the proper level. So I couldn't even make it out of the yard before, as soon as it got warm, that was it. So this is the second transmission I've replaced in one of these. The other one was the same year, but it was a 2.0 liter, same transmission. Did not have this issue at all. There was no transmission fault. I did have to take it to the dealer to get the strategy code. However, they say that you don't have to do that anymore. But you do have to, do the relearn. I was showing you on the paper there. You go through the process of driving it a certain way. But it's shifting perfect. So don't know why that's not going to go away. But worst case, I'll take it to the dealer. Maybe find a shop that has a better scan tool than I have. To me, this transmission was shifting even better than the other one. It seemed like the other one had like really kind of fast shifts. I don't know, a little bit harder it seemed like than it should have been in the lower gears. Of course, now that I'm actually got this out where I can drive it, seems like the rear brakes are going to have to be addressed. It's making a little bit too much racket. The front brake pads looked good. I had those off. But the rear, something's going on with those. It's making a little bit of noise. So I'm going to have to take a look at that. Well, I still have some rotors left. But really happy with this. All things considered, the only issue that's coming up is that transmission fault. I had a little leak on the oil cooler, and other than that, no issues. Now I'm OCD about this stuff, so I'm gonna drive it a little while, and I'm gonna check that transmission fluid again and just make sure, because I don't want to have any issues. And I'm gonna just drive it around for several days, and then I'll check it. Not a big deal. But like I said, you don't want to overfill them, because that will cause them to overheat as well. So you want to make sure you have it, trickling out that fill plug. I really like the way the suspension is on these Ford Escapes. I like the way they handle. It's just a really nice little ride. It'll really pick up speed pretty fast. It's driving really good. Okay, so the only thing that I've left off there is the cowl. Putting that back on, just leave that off for now to make sure this coolant hasn't got any more air in it. The fender liners, I've left those out. I don't want those in the way. I'm going to be checking the fluid again, transmission fluids. I've just left those out for now, not a big deal. But I'll get those on there later. So anyways, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. As always, I invite you to subscribe, and thanks for watching.